Your lesson essential question is, how does a story progress from the beginning to end? So we'll be talking about the progression of a story from the beginning, when the characters, the setting, and the problem are introduced, through the middle as the characters act and react to the problem, all the way to the end when the problem is solved. We've talked about how when we first start reading, we need to identify the characters and setting. Then, at the beginning of the story, we identify the problem. We look at how the characters act and react through their thoughts, words, and actions, and in the end, come to a problem. You read the story, The Case of the Missing Mutt. Let's read it together and go over your graphic organizer. You may have some different things, especially in the middle, and that's okay. Mrs. Brown stood at the gate in her backyard with a puzzled look on her face. As I walked closer, I could see something was wrong. Mrs. Brown wiped her tears from her eyes and said, "I think someone has stolen Snippets." Let's stop and identify the characters. One character is Mrs. Brown, and another character is this little boy telling the story. Now let's identify the setting. The setting is Mrs. Brown's backyard. Now let's identify some things that happened that were important at the beginning of the story. I see that Mrs. Brown is standing at her back gate looking puzzled. Then the problem arises. What's the problem of the story? Mrs. Brown thinks someone stole Snippets. Snippets was Mrs. Brown's dog. I asked her why she thought he had been stolen. She said the gates were all closed tight, so he couldn't have just run off. The next important thing that we need to make sure that we identify is that Mrs. Brown says that the gates were closed, so the dog couldn't have just run off. So Mrs. Brown reacts through her words by saying the gate was closed. I took a look around. Some leaf bags stood piled near one corner. I told her Snippets could have easily hopped up on the bags and over the fence. How does the little boy react to the problem? He takes a look around and says Snippets could have just jumped on the bags and over the fence. But Marty, she said, why would he do that? Most likely to see another dog, I said. I asked her if Snippets had ever been to the new dog park. Mrs. Brown said, "Why, yes, my granddaughter took him there last week." So the little boy reacts by asking Mrs. Brown if Snippets has ever been to the dog park. In the end, the problem's solved. How's the problem solved? In the end, the little boy finds Snippets playing with his friends at the park.